You know where stuff actually gets done on Capitol Hill? The House of Representatives is where. As the Hill newspaper reported today, 290 bills that were already passed by the House are sitting idle in the United States Senate right now. 290 of them. And some of them have been there since last spring. All 290 bills passed by a simple majority in the House, many of them with a lot of Republican support. Like this one, the Mortgage Reform and Anti-Predatory Lending Act. It passed 300 to 114 with 60 Republicans voting yes on it. It has been languishing in the Senate since last May. How about this one, the Job Creation Through Entrepreneurship Act? That sounds like something Republicans would like, and in fact it did pass 406 to 15, 159 Republican yes votes. That one's been sitting in the Senate since last May. How about H.R. 3631, the Medicare Premium Fairness Act? This one passed 406 to 18. 161 yes votes were Republicans, and it's been sitting in the Senate since September. I could go on, trust me. I could go on 287 more times, but I think you would get the idea. 290 bills. 290 bills have passed the House, many with a ton of Republican support, and they are just sitting there in the United States Senate, not moving. The Tarantino has got them. For the first time in American history, the minority in the U.S. Senate, the Republicans, are using the filibuster for everything, so that even the most routine, mundane Senate business, even the stuff that Republicans like, is forced to get 60 votes to pass. Look at this. We've been talking about the problem of the Tarantino for months now, and this is what it's wrought. This scroll of bills, 290 pieces of legislation, stopped dead in the broken Senate. Heaven forbid we actually need to make policy sometime for the good of our country. We are unable to do that now, as long as this problem, as long as the Tarantino is not fixed. One of the lawmakers trying to tackle the Tarantino is Democratic Senator Tom Udall of New Mexico. He serves on the Rules and Administration Committee, among other committees. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, sir.
Rachel, great to be with you. That's a pretty sorry example that you gave there of what's happened with the 290 bills, and I've got a proposal that I think is going to get to the heart of it and try to fix that.
Well, for those who don't know the details of your plan, how do you specifically hope to fix this problem?
Under the Constitution, and I call this the constitutional option, what happens at the beginning of each Congress is what happens in most legislative bodies all around the world and in the United States. You adopt rules. And so at the beginning of the 112th Congress, I'm going to move to adopt rules for the 112th Congress. We need a majority vote, and I think we're gaining momentum every day.
When Senator Reid was asked about this recently, he said that he thought it would take 67 votes, not a majority vote, in order to change the filibuster rules. I have spent a lot of time looking into this. I've even spoken to a retired parliamentarian from the Senate and trying to get a handle on this. I think that Senator Reid is not right. I hope I don't get you in trouble for asking you this, but do you think he's right?
I think there is a view, and it is that the rules say within them, this is the box you get yourself into, the rules say they cannot be changed from one Congress to the next, and they also say you have to have 67 votes to change the rules. Well, there's nothing about that in the United States Constitution. The Constitution merely says at Article 1, Section 5, that each House, meaning the Senate, is able to determine the rules of its proceedings. And it also says something that's very interesting, that it takes a quorum to do business. So you're talking a majority of senators to do business. So I think under the Constitution, we are able to adopt rules at the beginning of the 112th Congress. And many of the proposals that are out there are good proposals. I'm going to work with other senators and see if we can find 51 senators to get some rules in place that are going to work for the American people and work for the United States Senate to get the job done.
I wonder if you feel that Senator Bayh weighing in on this debate in the way that he has since he announced his impending retirement has changed the momentum on this a little bit, has made it feel like this is something more possible. He's been very articulate about the fact that the Senate has changed the rules in the past about how many votes it takes to call cloture, how many votes it takes to cut off a filibuster. He thinks it ought to be done again. Has that changed your sense of momentum on this?
Rachel, I think that Senator Bayh really has given it some momentum. But, you know, look at some of the other senators that have been speaking up that are seniors. Senator Harkin, Senator Dodd. We're seeing senior senators now saying, this isn't the place that I served in 30 years ago. It's completely changed. The filibuster is being used as a weapon of partisanship. And so we've got to focus on how to change it, and Senator Bayh has put some very good proposals on the table. One of them that I think is marvelous is the idea that you really have to stand up and filibuster. I mean, imagine that. Well, filibuster is supposed to be about somebody talking in opposition to an issue. We don't have that now. The 290 bills are sitting there because the threat of a filibuster. It takes 2 weeks to do those bills if you have the threat of a filibuster, so most of them just sit there. And that's a real shame, I think, for the American people.
Senator Udall, I would tell you that as we have been polling individual senators on whether or not they'd be willing in concept to consider a reform of the filibuster, a lot of them are telling us they believe it's being abused, they think it's a problem, but they're shy about the prospect of changing the rules. Are you individually lobbying your colleagues on this? Do you sense that they are willing to at least engage in conversation about how to stop this abuse of the filibuster now?
Rachel, absolutely. We're gaining momentum every day. What I would tell you is that there is a real concern about the way the rules are being used right now. There's a concern in terms of focusing on how we change that. And what we need the American people do is to speak out. You need to contact your senators and say, get down to business. Get something done here. Deal with those 290 bills that the House of Representatives has sent over. Why don't we deal with the other pieces of legislation this year under reconciliation if we're allowed to do so under the rules? But then let's focus on getting those rules to work so we can get health care and energy and global warming and all jobs legislation, all of those kinds of things done that we were sent here to do.
New Mexico Senator Tom Udall, thank you very much for your time and your clarity on this. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Rachel.